Yes, please, JD.
Okay, so good evening, everyone. So I'm very glad to have Rama Devi Lanka ma'am today amongst us as one of the eminent speakers for this month's data dialogue sessions. She's a director of the emerging technologies, information technologies, electronics and communication department of Government of Telangana. So let me introduce her to the audience. So as I told, she is a director of the Emerging Technologies Group of the Government of Telangana. And her role primarily is to formulate and execute policy frameworks that would go on to create conducive ecosystems for the growth of emerging technologies in the state of Telangana, build institutions of excellences, and assist the government in leveraging these technologies for better governance and in general to improve the service delivery to citizens. Now, prior to joining the ITE and C department, she was a senior general manager at the National Institute for Smart Governance, Government, NISG, and was involved in several e-governance projects that were very crucial in bringing the reforms and digital transformations in various domains such as health, visa, immigration, civil aviation, etc. She was also involved in the implementation strategy of the Meghraj policy for the cloud from the Government of India. Before that, she had a brief stint with the startups in Silicon Valley, and ma'am holds a postgraduate degree in environmental engineering from JNTU, and also holds an executive program in business management from the prestigious Indian Institute of Management, Kolkata. So, ma'am, first of all, thank you very much. We all know how much occupied you are, and thank you for taking your time. And it's over to you.
Thank you, JD, for that brief introduction. Well, I thank the IUDX team for giving me this opportunity today. And I'm going to talk about, our initiatives that we have actually implemented in building the digital ecosystem. Those of you who are in core technical area might kind of feel a bit, a little theoretical, but I work at a policy level, right? So I plan or, come out with strategies and initiatives that actually build an ecosystem. Digital ecosystem is what we are looking at. And today, while I'm going to share those initiatives that we have actually been working on, but these are again based out of our learnings. We have been working in emerging technologies for the last 5 years. And a lot of learnings, we work with startups, industries, academic institutes, foundations, a variety of stakeholders we have been working and great learnings. So based on those learnings, now we are actually working on building comprehensive digital ecosystem. When I say comprehensive digital ecosystem, we also started like anybody else, okay, this is a great technology, AI. So what are the problems that we need to solve using AI? We used to identify problem statements, went ahead, building solutions, solving problems. But we realized, when it comes to data again for AI, we face the biggest, or the elephant in the room, how do we get data? It's in different formats. It was such a Herculean task for us, to get, being within the government, I'm saying this, to get data from different departments. So then we realized we need to really put in place a policy enablement infrastructure, that enables government departments to share data. And that's what we did. So I'll just briefly take you through the certain slides, So please stop me if we actually need anything more clarification, or at the end of the session, we can take questions. Yeah, I'm just trying to share my screen. Well, yeah. Can you all see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. Well, before I just, talk about the initiatives, way back in 2018, we have set up this emerging technologies wing that focuses only on emerging technologies. We felt we needed a focused approach for these new age or frontier technologies, and the first of its kind in India. Later on, now even MeitY has its own emerging technologies divisions. Minister of External Affairs has its own emerging technologies wing, but we were the first ones to realize that this is a need that we need to have a separate focus team for this. And it's a twin objective that we have. While government adoption is the core objective for us, but we realize that if you want to really adopt solutions, products, services from these new technologies, we need to have an ecosystem in place that actually delivers those solutions. So in order to develop the ecosystem, we come out with actionable policy frameworks, and also we set up organizations that execute these frameworks. So this is a very structured digital strategy that we have in place with emerging technologies. And we have a very linear team, a very small team, but very effective. We work with partners. The mantra is partnership for us. Well, these are the various policy frameworks that we have been working on the last 5 years. Like we have a framework for each technology, like AI, cloud, space technology, blockchain, drones. And on the right side, if you look at the circle, these are the entities that we have set up. For example, for AI, we set up what you call Telangana AI mission that helps us execute the framework, framework where we have key pillars, that the framework. So these are the key pillars where in AI we said data exchange and data sets, skilling is another one. So we're all working on all these pillars. And at the bottom, if you look at it, these are the focus areas in AI. We said we'll work in healthcare, agriculture, mobility, education, and law enforcement. Well, initially we identify these, but as we progress and we realize more areas will have to be brought in, then we do that. It's not that they're cast in stone. These focus areas, if you look at the bottom. So today we are working in almost all these areas: healthcare, agriculture, mobility, education. Of course, law enforcement is very limited that we are working on today. Well, coming to digital, comprehensive digital agriculture ecosystem. Agriculture is a focus area for our state, and I think, and as you all know, it's one of the major, occupations where around, I think 50 to 60% of the population depend on it. So that's the reason, and our state has invested heavily in developing the infrastructure for agriculture. When I say infrastructure, it's not digital infrastructure, but in like supplying power 24/7 to farmers. That's a critical component for agriculture. Then irrigation, water, building huge irrigation structures, dams, for supply of water. So we've invested heavily in agriculture. So that is the reason we started focusing on agriculture initially. And we wanted to build this digital agriculture ecosystem. So as I said at the beginning, we started working on, projects. We started with some startups, a few startups like, SatSure and others are Telangana-based startups. When we started working with them, as I said, data was one of the biggest problem, getting the right data sets. And even the startups were not sure as what kind of data they need for AI algorithm. It was kind of a back and forth thing for us. They used to ask some data, we used to give it to them. Then they used to say, this is not the format, or they need more granular data, and so on. It took 6 months for us to actually get the right quality of data to these startups. Then we realized this is not the way to go. There should be a mechanism, there should be a certain methodology in place. What's the, bring out a method out of the madness is what we thought we wanted. So if you look at this top rectangle, or the first red block or brown block, data enablement through public infrastructure, partnership, and policy is what we realize that we need to put in place. So we, what we thought, okay, all of us know, many of you who are actually part of this might be aware that, sorry, yeah, just a minute. Somehow my screen has become, might be aware that we do not have data privacy bill yet in our country. So what we thought, at least at the state level, let us have our own, data management policy framework in place that will enable various departments to share data, even kind of personal data also, because in agriculture, we are actually delivering, advisories to farmers. So when you're giving advisories to farmers, you need to know their, name, the kind of crop they're growing, the extent of land that they own, and the geographical location and so on. So when we actually approach the department, they simply refuse, saying that we cannot share the data. So we worked extensively on setting in, bringing in a framework for sharing of the data, which I'll share it briefly. So once you have data in, when departments are sharing and you have data, where do you place it? Again, we don't want people, startups, companies coming and asking, department saying we need this data. And again, it takes a week for them to give that data. So we said we need to put in a mechanism in place. And IUDX is already there for, urban data exchange. Here we came up with a slightly different concept, which we call agriculture data exchange, where we are actually not storing data, but data will be available with different data providers. It's just an exchange platform. Maybe later you will get to know more about it. So the third piece that we wanted to set in place is a sandbox. While various startups are coming out with different innovative solutions, and for each of these, we were actually validating, evaluating. While technology validation or technical validation is being done by IT department, but when it comes to domain, such as agriculture, where you need to see if you're giving an advisories, is there any harm that's going to cause because of that advisories? Say pest management if you're saying a pest is likely to attack and this is a fertilizer, this much quantity you need to actually apply, that advisory will have to be validated by the government, because at the end of the day, if it's the government that owns responsibility. So we felt while we were doing it on an ad hoc basis, we felt we need a sandbox to actually do all that kind of validation. So we are working on that. And a very unique concept, we call it as agri value chain transformation. When we started working on kind of point solutions, like only on seed traceability, but we realized that can we take one single crop and deploy different technologies across the value chain of crop and see at the end what is the value that the farmer derives out of it. Will it increase his productivity? Will it bring it more, revenue to him, is what we wanted. So agri value chain transformation is what we call. So this is data enablement through policy framework is the first one. Second, of course, as I said, different pilots we started. Once the pilot is successful, we actually scale it across the state, different districts. Initially we started 1 or 2 locations for a particular crop, then scale it across different districts across the state. And the bottom one, if you see, everything needs to be institutionalized. Otherwise, it becomes individual driven, right? So we set up, of course, ET wing or emerging technologies wing is always there. We also set up digital agriculture wing in the agriculture department. So this is the whole, it gives a blueprint of a digital strategy. Next, I'll briefly go into each one of these, horizontals. Well, agriculture data management framework, I'll just briefly touch upon at a very high level. Well, as I said in the beginning, what is the need, for it? We're struggling. Data is critical, not just for digital agriculture, even for, for develop any solution for that matter, algorithms, AI. And one key thing when we were actually working on this, while, because of ChatGPT or generative AI, now everybody is saying it's going to cause more harm. Government need to bring in regulations. And in fact, we are aware that European Union has come out with AI Act, and it has classified 3 levels of, where they say highly unacceptable, some kind of classification they have done. So it's very difficult for the government. You need to draw that fine balance between, trust, and how do you bring in trust and regulate it without stifling innovation. So that's what we try to do using this data management framework. And I would like to mention here that J. Satyanarayana Garu, who has worked extensively within the state of the United Andhra Pradesh, and he has worked with MeitY, Secretary MeitY also. He is the chief advisor to us, who has been actually advising us on this project. So that's about the need. Then objectives, again, these are, any objectives that a data management framework we're likely to have high quality data, bring in trust and transparency. One thing is, like as I said, it's like one-on-one exchange. Like some startup comes to the government, asks for data, we give it to them. But can we make it as an end-to-end exchange is what we were looking for. This, multiple providers, multiple consumers is what we wanted to have it. So this is the data, and these are the key salient features of the data framework that we have incorporated into, very crisp. It's not a huge document, very small 20-page document, but we have, put in all the requirements that we need to actually share different kind of data with stakeholders or users. So we have actually proposed a grievance redressal mechanism, and we have put in, what kind of access controls are required to share data. Well, most of you are from the technical background. I don't need to explain here. But one key thing that's part of this, which is not coming out in this slide, is consent management is the key to share data, consent and purpose. Why are we actually, when somebody wants personal data, then they need to mention for what purpose they're going to use it, and they need to get the consent of the individual. Only then the particular department or particular data provider will be able to share data. And we also identified different data sets that will be part of agriculture. This initially we did for agriculture, later it will be extended to other sectors as well, like health, education, and so on. We wanted to experiment with education initially. Once we put this in place, probably we'll extend it to other sectors very soon. So we also identified, high-level data sets. So what for data is required? We classified again, it's for business purpose. During the production of agriculture, what are the various data sets that are required, like farm advisories, pest and disease management, quality assurance, and so on. The last one, general agriculture services, like you might need, land records, or what are the kind of benefits to farmers, and so on. So broad agriculture data sets were also identified. So this is about putting in place a data management policy framework that enables government departments to share data. That's the key objective initially, we started with. Well, that's about data management. So that we've already, we have even come out with SOPs, for various data sharing mechanisms, validation of the data, and so on. They are in place now. The framework is at the approval stage, final approval stage, which is with a chief secretary. So once that's done, maybe ministers will have to also approve. Then it actually becomes, live, I would say. So next is agriculture data exchange platform. Well, these are some of the slides that we've used earlier for the soft launch, which I borrowed from them, because the architecture that I had in my slides was a bit older. So I thought, why not I use the latest slides. As I said, when we started working with the startups, especially using AI solutions, it really took us months to get the data. So then we realized we need to actually have a mechanism in place to share data, and that's how this edX, the idea of edX was born. Again, J. Sachidanand Garu is at the back of it. He has been pushing us to get it done. And as a government also, we worked pretty fast on this. We then at that point of time, somehow we got to know that IIC has been working on IUDX. So we thought, why don't we leverage their expertise and experience in this, so that it'll actually reduce the entire, time to develop this. That's how our partnership with IIC started. And today, I'm happy to say that just a couple of 2 weeks back, we launched this soft launch. It's a soft launch of edX platform, where, we have already, these components where, again, it's a concept like we have data providers who actually share their data over APIs, and data users who need that data, they can actually search the data through a catalog, through metadata that is available. Then we have put in certain, as I said, consent management is the key, for this, because we would also make available personal data about farmers. We have Raitu Bandhu data, which is actually used to disperse grant for farmers, so that data will be made available through this platform. We're trying to do that. So consent is the key. And for what purpose it's being actually sought. That's if the purpose changes, they have to again get the consent again. So this is a broad architecture. And the bottom, if you see, anybody can share, anybody can come on board this platform. It could be public sector, private sector, it could be, academic institutes, startups, anybody can use this platform, and different kinds of data, types of data can also be made available over this platform. And initially we actually identified 5 use cases to be made available in this platform, starting with soil health, pest management, then credit use case, farmer records, farmer land records, and so on. So we are trying to make those data sets available over this platform. Maybe this is June, right? So by end of July, we are planning to actually formally launch this edX platform, where data sets related to initially, those use cases will be made available. So our terms are a bit different here. We are saying agriculture information users who are going to use this data, or called AIUs, and actually they need to, these are the features that are available. I'm not getting deep into that, because once you actually have this data exchange platform, it's more easier to play around if you are interested. And we have another concept called data service providers. Say, as a startup or as government, we may have sometimes raw data, but that will be made available over the platform. A data service provider can take this raw data and add some more data and make it rich, and and make it available on the platform to other users. So data users, we have data information providers, data service providers. These are major 3 kind of users we are looking at on this platform. And it's again standard based cloud, and this we are actually calling it as DPI, digital public infrastructure. Once it's developed, it's available to everybody, so anybody can actually use it. Other states can emulate this. So it's a digital DPI that we are creating in partnership with IISc and World Economic Forum. So these are the different data sets, initially we are offering it over the platform, and we would like to see other data providers. It could be, organizations, enterprises, startups, research institutes. They can actually make available whatever data that they have over this platform. In a sense, it's more about building a data ecosystem rather than, sharing data or making data available. So as a government, we're acting as a catalyst, So we want other stakeholders to come on board and make this, and, this just, if not at the scale of UPI, at least similar to UPI is what we are looking at. So that's about, agriculture data exchange platform. And the third, as I said at the beginning, is the AgriTech Sandbox. This is still at the conceptualization stage. While we have been working on this, but it's not a structured format as such. This, that is in place. Now we are going to actually put in place what you call Sandbox Regulatory Authority, and again for agriculture. We also set up what you call, Web3 Sandbox in Telangana. It's slightly different in the sense it's a regulatory sandbox. As most of you might be aware, Web3 startups are actually moving away from India to other countries like, Singapore, Dubai, and so on, because of lack of regulatory clarity, number one. Number two, there is nobody to guide them actually. So what we thought, why don't we actually create a sandbox where Web3 startups can identify, and we're also bringing on regulators, so regulators can look at the innovative solutions, and if required, probably, can either make changes to the existing regulations or come out with new regulations to enable startups, is what our idea. So we're already working on Web3 sandbox. Now this is another one that we're setting up for the Agri Sandbox. So here again, regulatory validation is one part of it. We're also looking at domain validation, because for agriculture, that is essential, because we don't want somebody prescribe. Again, these solutions, if they go through the government, they have to go through the sandbox. If some startup is offering, something independent to farmers, it's okay. It's not, they do not require to go through this sandbox. So initially domain validation and technical validation is again depends on if the startup wants it, whether they're actually adopting open standards, or scalability and so on. But the core part will be domain validation. Before any startup is going to provide advisory service, any services to farmers, we they will have to go through domain validation if they are going through the government. So this we are going to set up, maybe next month. So I'm skipping this, not getting into the details. And as I said in the beginning, we are actually deploying emerging technologies across the value chain of a particular crop. Chilies is a crop that we have identified in one of the districts called Khammam district in Telangana. So initially we are starting here with data collection of the farmer, the first block. Then, we have a chatbot where we interact with different farmers. And a video-based extension, and it's used for two purposes. One is to disseminate a package of practices, and secondly, we're also seeking consent of the farmer before we, take their data. So then another AI-based soil testing is a solution that we are actually deploying, because it's one of the biggest one of the challenges I would say to the farmer is, because they have take the soil to a lab to get it tested, which takes about 30 days for them to get a report. So this particular solution that we're going to deploy will give the report in 30 minutes or so. Then again, quality assaying is another one. See, if you look at this entire chain, so initially certain advisories will be given. Then once the crop start, soil testing is done, and advisories on micronutrients, major nutrients will be given to them. So then, once the crop is there, what is the kind of quality assaying? It's mostly manual right now. So market linkages, and finally, data exchange is just a mechanism for different players. So this is the value chain transformation that we are talking about. And I'll just briefly introduce about different kind of projects that we are working in these emerging technologies. So quickly go through them. So this is a very interesting project called iRaste, which we are working in partnership with Intel. One of the biggest cause of deaths in India is due to accidents. It's more than statistics actually tell you that the deaths caused due to accidents is more than that of COVID. So we're actually using AI devices, developed by, Intel actually, or Intel and other companies that actually alert a driver before a collision is about to happen. So we have just installed those devices in about 200 buses, and we are giving alerts. Maybe in a couple of months, we'll actually know, how many accidents have happened. Are there any gray areas? We're also identifying black spots, gray spots across the road. Well, black spots are already there. We're also identifying where actually driver is putting brakes a couple of times or stopping. So, and a lot of analytical reports that will come out of this, which will help the state transport department to take actions, preventive actions. So moving on, this is a very interesting project that we are working using AI solution developed by one of the startups. Again, this solution we sourced through a grant challenge, So it's actually implemented for the forest department, where this particular solution is helping the forest officials to monitor wildlife. Currently, they don't have any tool. They have huge data, but they were not able to actually monitor on a daily basis, So this tool is helping them to identify the movement of the animals, also helping them to now design, ecotourism and so on. So this is another one. This is an interesting project that we are working with Google. It's called agriculture, land use understanding. So right now we don't have digital maps of farmlands. While Google Maps takes us anywhere, but right now in the urban landscape, but for the agriculture, this is the biggest challenge, that innovators are facing. We don't have digitized farmland boundaries as of now in the country. So this we are working with Google. Initially, we call it field segmentation. Now we have changed it to the name as agriculture land use understanding. So, if it is implemented successfully, it will be a great, game changer. It could give you, what type of crop is grown in a particular farmland in the last 3 years, 5 years, drought, irrigation, whole lot of, details, information can be obtained out of this. Yeah, I'm moving on. Seed traceability using blockchain is another technology that we're using extensively. Seed traceability is because fake seeds is one of the biggest problem again for the agricultural farmers. So we are using blockchain to trace the seeds, from the source of production to the retail So this is another one. And using AI and blockchain, it's intersection of different technologies. We have developed a product called e-voting, where it's a smartphone-based app where you can just cast your vote from anywhere, We piloted this in one of the districts and it worked successfully well. But again, a political decision will have to be taken to make this happen. But it's really beautiful, this particular app that we have developed. Well, drone is another technology that we are working on. So afforestation to deliver medicines, and robotics is another area that we recently started working on. We released our framework and we started off using robots, to take out weeds and to pluck cotton farmers. But I have to admit that the solutions that we got it are really not very mature and robust. They're kind of very at an initial stage. I mean, not really like well matured solutions. We're really looking out for some good solutions or good technology solutions in agriculture and robotics. Well, this is my last slide. I'll pause here, for any questions also. Thank you. Hi, Inder.
Rama, how are you? Thank
Good,
you.
good.
Thank you so much for actually an excellent talk. I mean, we've been working with you for so long, and I guess we have never seen the full breadth of what you are doing, right? And so I'm glad we had an opportunity to see that today, and really commend you for the vision and the I think the thoughtfulness that's gone behind kind of thinking through this program. So I have a kind of a small question, right? I mean, one question is, how, you talked about so many projects, and I would imagine some of these projects are successful, some of these projects are not. How do you track and measure these projects? Do you have some formal methodology and process, or is it more on an ad hoc basis? How do you keep track of all these projects and determine, how they are doing?
Well, there is no standard methodology as such, but a pilot, different projects have different measurements, right? If it's an agri-tech project, it's different. If it's iRaste that I talked about, where, it's to reduce road accidents. So it again, project-based measurement that we have. So, I would say, the success, to measure success, the pilot will be measured based on certain parameters where, we usually identify for that. If it's like, for the pest management, say, that we have implemented earlier with Vadbani, we actually implemented around 2-3 districts. So the number of farmers that are using it, and later on, we'll actually undertake an impact assessment study also to identify whether it really created the impact for scaling up purpose. If you want to scale up that particular project, then we undertake an impact study and then understand if it's really created the impact and the, kind of result or the outcome that we expected. Only then we scale it up. That's how we do it. In that, it's not a standard approach as such, because different projects require different kind of methodologies, and each one is different. See, blockchain scalability, seed traceability, it is the one it requires totally different, measurement methodology compared to another one like drone Kahara Bahara, where we use drones to seed, drop seeds across forest. Again, that's different. That will be evident only after 4 or 5 years, because once you drop seeds, they need to, become like, slowly plants. They should at least come up to a certain stage where you can measure the greenery and all. So it's really not easy, I would say, but project based, we take it, based on its impact and the outcomes. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I mean, I've seen sometimes, these programs will have these formal phases, right? They'll say, okay, this is incubation phase, this is pilot phase, this is now, pre-production, now production, and then they'll have formal kind of gates, right? And for each, move from one phase to the other. So it kind of is a little bit more kind of, structured. I don't know if you considered doing that, or whether that's something that
no, we actually procure solutions that are ready to be implemented. We don't engage companies at an idea stage or initial stages, because we can't afford that much time and resources for that. So only when a solution is ready to be implemented, we actually source that, evaluate it, and then implement it. So maybe a little bit of customization is okay, but yeah.
Thanks. I'll let others ask questions as well. I'll get off mute, get off the picture.
Rama ma'am, you discussed about that skilling and education is also one part of the initiatives which you have taken, and I personally feel that that's very important to make people aware of what potentially data holds, right? And that needs some sort of educating the people. So I just wanted to know, what are the initiatives you guys are taking for skilling and educating the general public like that.
Yeah, most of our projects are, within the government, right? The first thing we do is at least create that awareness within the government and bring certain kind of expertise also within the government. So we actually conduct awareness workshops on each of these technologies, at different levels of government officials, right up to the project management unit. And here we have a very structured approach in adopting a particular solution. We brainstorm with them, identify a problem, then what is the problem statement? We identify what technology, what solution, solves the problem. Then once we actually identify a particular solution, then we implement it a pilot, validate that, and then it's a very structured approach that we have for implementation. Yeah.
Also, ma'am, of late, we have been working on the data quality frameworks also, right? And we see that data quality is a very notional thing. And it's very hard also because when we look at data from sensors, the data quality means something else as compared to when we are looking at data, which is, manually uploaded. So I just wanted to understand, do you have some policies or frameworks for people to understand, what is the minimum threshold of quality a data set should have?
Yeah, as part of policy framework, while it's broader, but there are SOPs that we're actually creating for each of those, So one SOP will be only for quality parameters, like what kind of threshold values, minimum threshold values that they need to have. So only then the data will be allowed to be actually made available through this platform. Yeah.
Right. And one last question, if you may allow. So, ma'am, since you are leading these initiatives in emerging technologies, what is the one major challenge or roadblock you have faced, in all these years? Is it, access to good quality data, or is it like technology, or is it something else?
The technology is easy. I would say that is the easiest part. The biggest challenge is getting data, high quality data. Again, in governments, data is stored in different formats, different, what you call types, formats. It's so disparate data that you have. It really becomes so difficult to get, good quality data that you want. That's like. Sometimes I feel it's like, maybe it's exaggeration, but, from a maze, you need to see if that the right quality of data is sometimes, I feel. That is the reason we have come out with this initiative,
Right.
Yeah. Because when work with startups, we realize that 30 to 40% of the time is getting lost in, cleaning the data, processing the data, and so on. So why don't we help them out? Yeah.
Yes, thank you, ma'am. So we have a question from Abhay. Abhay? Abhay, you have a question? You have raised your hand?
I think he's posted it.
Or is it?
He has posted it on chat. I have also posted a question. This is Raghu here.
Okay, Raghu, you can go ahead and ask it. It's okay.
Okay, my question, I hope you can hear me. This is
Yes.
Raghu from IODX. So I think really a very fascinating set of projects and also the vision. I think if you can really pull it off, it'll be really way ahead of many other states. So I'm really looking forward to this and would be a strong supporter. I had a general question. You talked about some of the AI projects. And one of them, I think you said, was related to preventing accidents.
Yeah.
And there you had, I'm assuming you have mounted cameras on buses, either facing outside or inside, I'm not sure, maybe. But in either case, this kind of video from cameras mounted on the buses, they can come in handy for a variety of other purposes. So for example, you could estimate the road traffic if you have the video facing outside, or if it's facing inside, you can estimate the bus occupancy. This kind of information is really very much helpful in creating other types of apps that could predict the estimated arrival time of the buses, or how crowded the buses are, whether someone should take that bus or miss it, So there is so many other things you can think about. So you may collect the data for one purpose, but it could be much more widely useful. I was just wondering if you had any thoughts of sharing, this kind of data to build the ecosystem of other kinds of use cases for the same data. I think that would be wonderful if you could do that.
That's an excellent idea, Raghu. In fact, but this camera is actually it faces outside, because we want to get a 360-degree view of the road, analyze and give alerts to the driver, right? There is another one that it will be facing the driver. It's called driver monitoring system. Right?
Okay.
EMS. But that is again to study the behavior of the driver, whether he's dozing off, or getting distracted. So it's only for that. But occupancy and all, we are not capturing the data. But this particular data that you said, even the road data, it will be very useful if we can make it available. And we never know what kind of innovative solutions will come out of this. We'll definitely share this data. And also with Intel and IIIT Hyderabad earlier, we actually, like on a vehicle, we mounted a camera and it went around and collected around 50,000 sets of data. That is available in the public domain. I'm not sure where, but I can share it later.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, for real-time estimation of traffic and things like that, I think this would be excellent to have. Of course, people have to work on the algorithms. So for that, they would need a lot of data. So that's where this would be useful.
But this is only for 2 routes initially we are doing, Hyderabad, Bangalore and Hyderabad, Vijayawada, which are high dense roads.
Okay. Yeah, thank you.
Rama, I have another question from Abhay, and I'll read it for you. So Abhay is asking that, like data dissemination and data usage, where there seems to be a lot of push, is there a effort on the side of collecting data, like some kind of standard guidelines or frameworks on how to collect data and what data to share within government initiative, etc.? So Abhay says that he believes that data availability will be a key, and such guidelines may be extremely useful in the days to come. So what is your take on it?
Yeah, guidelines are put in place. As I said, SOPs are being put in place to collect data, process, and so on. It's a very, detailed guidelines that we are giving. That's number one. Second, and it's not that we are taking any data that is the department is giving and dumping it on the platform. No, we're actually identifying data sets based on a particular use case. So that will really help. Initially we are going with that idea. Maybe later on, if it's required, we might change it. We are identifying particular use cases, and and again for that use case, what are the data sets that are required, and we are sourcing those data sets from different departments. When you're doing that, we are going down to the granular level, and of course the data will have to be in a format, in a type that can be consumed by algorithms. So all those things are being put in place, Abhay.
So can we expect a single framework in place for data collection, for example, like in the days to come?
In fact, the data management framework has one section on data collection. So
okay, thank you, ma'am.
Too theoretical, so that is the reason I kept it very concise, especially data management framework.
Right. So we have a question from Hari. Hari, you can unmute yourself and ask. Yeah. Hari? So we are not able to hear you, Hari. Are you speaking? Maybe you can put your question on the chat.
Hi, ma'am. Actually, Abhay here. So I am having some audio problems. I thought I'll just walk over to JD's place. So just, I think, yeah, I got that there are guidelines for the data collection. But what I meant was that, see, the problem happens when one department does not know which data to share, how to share, how much to share. So it also is also dependent a little bit on anonymization guidelines. So again, are there efforts on that side also, like as to, okay, this is the data you can easily share, this is the data where maybe you need some anonymization, or this is the data where you need even much more processing. So that was the kind of guidelines I guess I was looking for.
Yeah, data collection. I mean, SOP, we have already worked on the SOP, what kind of, but not on processing. Yes. I mean, currently the way we are working away is, as I said, we are even giving them the template, what kind of data that they need to actually provide us. If you look at soil, for example, take soil testing. So
Yes.
we are giving them even the fields, what kind of data elements that we need. So,
Okay.
that itself will, because we are not, again, when you actually give a very clear template to them, they're going to share the data as per the template. That itself makes them, undertake the process of collecting, cleaning, and, bringing it to a certain level of quality. So initially we are doing that, but we need to work on the clear guidelines as well. That, once we have this in place and it proves to be successful, we'll be setting up a team to actually work only on that, to work on data quality, come out with guidelines. We started off small, I would say, and as we scale up, all those things will be put in place.
Excellent. Excellent. Thanks, ma'am. Yeah.
And so we have another question from Hari, ma'am. So Hari works with us and his area of expertise in data privacy, and he's asking that, can you please share any privacy considerations that arise when sharing data? And second part of the question is, what are the major challenges and open problems in data privacy? And are privacy consideration risks an inhibitor of data sharing in the ecosystem which you are trying to build?
That's a good question, Hari. In fact, the whole purpose of coming out with our data management policy framework is essentially because of this, because privacy considerations do come in, when you're sharing data, especially when you're sharing the details of personal details or PII data, personally identifiable information, So, but that's the reason we are coming out with a framework where it identifies, as I said in the beginning, you need to mention if somebody needs that data, you need to mention for what purpose you are seeking this data. Secondly, we need to obtain consent from the farmer to share this particular data for this particular purpose. And once he or she, again, there is a duration, a whole lot of guidelines we are putting in place for sharing data, Once, if your purpose changes, they have to come back and seek again, consent by the farmer or from whomever they are actually taking this data. So because we don't have a privacy data law in place, we are actually putting in all those, because it's a legal problem also. Our framework has been prepared by a legal firm. It's not that we alone came out with this framework. So it has been vetted thoroughly by legal teams. And tomorrow, if we are going to get a national law, MATE is coming out, this will be subsumed in that. It has all legal things in place. So whatever risks that we're talking about data sharing, all those are taken care of, Because of short time window, I did not really put in all those things. But as a government, we have to be more concerned when we're sharing, PII data. So all those controls are in place.
Thank you, ma'am. And we have a question from Akhil. Akhil wants to know that do the SOPs regarding data collection also concern with converting legacy data into standard formats, which he believes must be tangled with a lot of red tape and on-paper documents, which would be in some sense could be used for analytics. So if you can read the question.
Yeah. Akhil, that's the objective, I mean, whatever data that's there with the government, if you just take it as is, it's not amenable to analytics, algorithms, nothing. This whole exercise that we are doing is essentially that, to get data in a form where you can actually do analytics. It can be consumed by algorithm. As I said in the beginning, we realized that when we started working with startups working in, on developing AI algorithms. So we understood the kind of data they need, the kind of format, so that is the reason this whole initiative of edX, ADMF have actually come into place to actually, alleviate this problem that you have mentioned, lot of red tape. We ourselves being in the government were so frustrated, when we started obtaining the data. So our objective is to cut off all this, and get just like it's a marketplace, like you go there, get, select what data you want in a format that is available, you just download it. That's what is our, dream. Hope it works out.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. So any further questions? There's a question from Bala, and Bala wants to know that if there is an alignment of the state government with the central policies on emerging technologies, and are the state leveraging on the funds being made available by the emerging technologies division of MIT? So two parts.
Well, for some of, they're actually giving funds based on projects. Project-based, funding is being given by MIT. And recently, they also said, you can set up AI labs in IITs, data annotation labs in ITIs and polytechnics. So we're actually leveraging those funds. Then, we have set up this National Center in Additive Manufacturing. 3D printing is another, though it's not emerging technology, but now because of the change in technology, just like AI, it's one of those, emerging technologies. And in fact, it's a partnership between MIT and Govt of Telangana that we have set up this National Center in Additive Manufacturing. We call it NCAM, So it's a joint partnership. Then there is another joint partnership between MIT and Govt of Telangana is we have set up a Center of Excellence in e-waste, which is developing low-cost solutions to manage e-waste. Like you need to extract those precious metals from electronic waste. So this is again, CMET is an organization, central government organization. They recently came out. They developed a low-cost solution, which is now offered to the industry. So various initiatives. We have a very good relationship with MIT, and let us know if there are any other funds that we're missing. We'll make use of them.
Yeah, thank you, ma'am. So any further questions? So yeah. So it was very nice and insightful, Rama Devi ma'am, to know so many things. Like we have been interacting with you only on, pertaining to edX, but now it's such an eye opener that you are working right from a project like iRaste to drones and the digitizing the lands and with Google and so many other things along with Intel, and also that is like a complete spectrum of emerging technologies which you are working on. So thank you so much. It was really insightful, and thank you for your time. We all know you are very much occupied, and thank you for taking this time. And if there are no further questions, I'll close the session. Thank you.
It's my pleasure. Thank you for giving me this opportunity and interacting with all of you.
Thank you, ma'am. Namrata, you can stop the recording.